Imagine walking into your boss's office and giving notice because your writing has become your primary revenue stream. Or your podcast is successful enough that you can quit your day job. Or maybe having your marketing on autopilot so you can spend your time on the art career you love rather than on marketing. Are you a creative person who's great at what you do, but marketing makes you freeze? You're not alone. I help passionate, purpose-driven creatives overcome fear, find their brand voice, and build a marketing strategy that works for them. Oh yeah, I also make it easy and painless. It's never too late to grow the business you've been dreaming about. Book an introductory call with me, Rob Southgate, at southgatesmallbusiness.com today. And let's take the pain out of marketing together. Welcome back to Alley Chats. I'm your host, Rob Southgate. Alley Chats is like a virtual artist's alley featuring interviews with artists, filmmakers, podcasters, writers, and really any creative person you might find at a pop culture convention. My goal is to help draw attention to cool people and hopefully help them get some new fans. I want this podcast to raise up these amazing people and to inspire you, the listener, to chase your dreams as well. You can follow Alley Chats on Facebook under Alley Chats Podcast and join in the conversations. I'll add more social media in the future, but for now, that is the best place to interact with us. You can also email me directly if you would like to be a guest or have a guest suggestion. My email is rob@smgpods.com. Welcome to Alley Chats. I am your host, Rob Southgate. Today I have with me Eric Lard. He's an author. He's with Four Horsemen Publications. No big shocker there. I draw a lot of you Four Horsemen to the show. But Eric has written, he's got a new book coming out. He's got a couple of books that I know you're going to be fascinated by. I really wanted to introduce him to you guys. Hey, let's face it. You're walking down Artist Alley. There's an author. You see his Arcfire of Antiquity or his new one, The Renegade Bodie Nine, and you're like, tell me all about it. So, Eric, let's start with, you're not going to tell us all about it. We're going to start with you telling us. I mean, you will at some point, right? That's kind of the point. But let's start with, Eric, why don't you tell people who you are and what you do?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, Rob. Opportunity just to chit chat about sci-fi and fantasy and books and all that stuff. I'll just kind of jump at every opportunity, and you got a great show. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. I love having you on. So, and I like to talk all this nerd stuff too. So this is a perfect fit.
Yeah, that's good. It's good stuff. I don't know, not much to tell, right? I was struggling author, never thought I'd actually finish a book. I always just wrote for fun. And, one day I was looking at a handful of short stories that I had going on, and I was like, oh, what if these can all go together? And then the next thing you know, I was, almost halfway through a book just by some of these stories that I had and having an idea that linked them together. And
right.
That was the genesis for finishing a book. And then, the how to get from finished book to publication is a whole nother journey. And I probably rewrote that book, like every single word of it. I'd say I've heard it like 7 times.
Oh, wow.
I was just like a dog with a bone, it's just like as soon as something presented itself like that, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to make this happen. And so, but I kind of dodged your question. I'm married, live in California. I've got 3 boys. They're all, in their 20s, and they're my best friends. And so is my wife. And, we do a lot of stuff outdoors, like mountain bikes and, occasionally surfing now that we're inland. Not so much, but snowboarding, that sort of thing. So big into the action sports, which is probably why that plays so heavily into my stories.
Sure. Makes sense. You write what you know, right?
Yeah. Well, and I try to do a lot of stuff so I can get better at it. So we did, spend a little time at the UFC gym, and, I spar, kickboxing and boxing with a couple of my sons and that sort of thing, just to kind of like, one, for, to stay in shape, and two, to kind of just continue to know what I'm talking about in
Sure.
that arena.
Sure. Well, from a psychological standpoint, doing things like that, it rewires your brain. It creates new neural pathways, and that's what you're doing. You're keeping it young, you're keeping it fresh, and it's making it so you can write about it, and that makes perfect sense. Very few authors can sit in a closet by themselves and create worlds and not experience things. And frankly, do you think those ring true, or do you think it's them kind of making it up? I think it's them kind of making it up.
I think that was another big shocker for me in my authorly journey, was figuring out just how much of a team sport it is. The people that you have to rely on to be your sounding board, to figure out if something rang true, or if it was you got a plot hole somewhere, and someone else to polish it up to get to the next stage where you can polish it up some more,
right?
Get it ready. And so there's so much involved in it, and building your network of people is a really big deal. And I think and I'll just kind of riff on this just a little bit and just keep on talking about it, but one of the other things that I found really surprising was talking about doing what you know and writing about what you don't know. The emotional stuff, the whole character arc, all that stuff. That's actually something that I found really fascinating with writing. I get to explore mentalities and emotionality that I don't. That's just not native to this environment, of my brain. So that's also really amazing to me.
Yeah, very gratifying to be able to do that. And you're writing in science fiction, which it's funny, we're saying, write what you know, be grounded in it and all that. And people think science fiction is way out here, but it truly is not. I mean, the technology might be, but the human part of it doesn't really change. The stakes go up, the love is there, the hate is there.
Yeah. And that's what people connect with. And so regardless of the genre, whether it's fantasy or, it's like high fantasy or contemporary fantasy, or it's, sci-fi, right. The hard sci-fi stuff kind of like strays a little bit. But even then, it's just, there's not a whole lot that you can really dig into unless it's got teeth. It's got the character arc. It's got the emotionality. It's got the stress and the tension that we experience on a daily basis, right. So that we can identify with these people that are in these bizarre environments. So I dig that. It's a lot of fun.
So let's talk about your first series. The Incursion Chronicles. I know it's not complete. We've got 2 books so far. I'm sure there's a third on the way. I mean, no spoiler, right? Arcfire of Antiquity was number 1. Number 2 is Exile of the Pan Arcanum. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them about these books? Like, what's the main story? What are we looking at here? Other than amazing covers on these books, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so it actually encapsulates everything that we just talked about. The idea behind the Incursion Chronicles, but specifically Arcfire of Antiquity, the first book, was really, I loved mechs as a kid. These massive robots, running around, beating each other up, and just like it was just larger than life. And the technological aspect of it was really intriguing. How somebody could control that, the amount of, it was like a fighter jet on steroids, and
right.
At the same time. It's just this larger than life concept, and I wanted more, essentially. And sorry if I've got notifications going on in the background here, but I wanted more, right? I thought the idea was fascinating, but I never thought that it was explored very well. And so I couldn't think of a better way to explore the idea of vulnerability other than taking somebody that was used to being, the most powerful thing on the planet, running around destroying and that sort of thing, and then getting slowly stripped of this power and what you're good at, and so I created this character that is kind of the best of the best in a lot of ways, but also just a flaming train wreck, from an emotional standpoint, and then she gets busted down to just power armor, and she's got this impossible mission, and the impossible mission is horrifying. It's it's a planet before Earth that comes in later, and they've been in this battle of attrition against this alien entity, that seems to have unlimited resources, and just really wants nothing but extermination. And they've been clawing their way through the solar system, colony by planet, until it's to the home world of Epriot Prime, where she lives. And she's lost everything. She's lost her family. She had a baby girl and lost her. And, that's when she just kind of really took a dark turn, and, it was just all about vengeance and just killing everything she possibly could until she lost, because it was inevitable. Humanity was going to lose this battle. And so she gets one last swing at it, instead of going out and, fighting at the front lines. They send her off on this fool's errand to find a artifact, some prior race technology that nobody's been able to find. And so it ends up turning into a kind of a journey of self-discovery, a little bit, not quite Apocalypse Now, but it's a little bit, you're just like terra incognita up the river and into the jungle, and it just gets wild and crazy, and there's all sorts of metaphysical stuff going on, and these especially bad guys that are hunting her down for reasons that nobody can really understand. Seems very counterintuitive to the whole situation, but she's a survivor, and she keeps going and plugging along, and her own past kind of comes back to haunt her throughout the whole story. And so meanwhile, we're exploring the technological aspects of this future, which is really way distant past, kind of like Star Wars, I guess, in that way. And in the meantime, we're unraveling, layer by layer by layer, as she gets stripped of her powers, and ultimately is just, in the flesh, in the jungle, exploring the stuff that's really fantastical, and, from a race and a technology that she doesn't understand. So it's a wild ride, I think. Instead of like every single one of my books is, it's unexpected, and I'm getting better the more that I write. So
So is this a finite series, or do you feel like, I like you have no idea? It's kind of like when he was writing The Dark Tower. I remember Stephen King saying at the beginning of it, he said this could be 100 books, it could be 8. I don't know.
Yeah. So the short answer is not necessarily. I did a couple things with it. So there was the first book, and really that was another compilation of short stories and practice sessions, while I was writing my first book, which is another series that's fantasy based and it's earth based. And again, the bright idea, hey, what if I combine all this stuff? And that's kind of what the genesis was for the second book of the Incursion Chronicles, is I brought that first other series, the main characters and one of the other characters who was from the Incursion Chronicles time, and I brought them back. So it brings in that fantasy element again. And it just kind of amps everything up even more. So Exile of the Pan Arcanum ends up, more bad guys, interdimensional battle, a little bit of time travel, a lot of character arc for these different personalities who, Cadian Gallus is the main character of Arcfire of Antiquity. And then I've got another character, Davri, from our experience, from our Earth, iterations of humanity over the span of hundreds of thousands of years, and so that all comes together, and it's really crazy. So then that was kind of to use a Star Wars analogy again, just because it's what I had in mind, so fresh.
Yeah.
It doesn't mirror that at all, other than it mirrors the arc. What I loved growing up, one of the first movies I ever saw was Star Wars in the movie theaters, and then when Empire Strikes Back came out, it was so big, and the tension and everything going on was so much. It's been crystallized in my mind forever. So when I wrote my book to a trilogy, I wanted all that same energy. And then again, of course, the Return of the Jedi came after that, and it was just the blockbuster, and I kind of kept that momentum. So the book that follows it up, number 3, is called Cosm Breaker, and it ties it all together. It's written, and I'm in the revision process, and we'll be getting that into production here soon.
So that is a trilogy. Do you see it going on beyond that?
Yeah, it splinters from there.
Okay.
So Cosm Breaker, the 2 series diverge again and become their own series again at that point. But the 3 books, Arcfire, Exile, and Cosm Breaker, can really be treated as a trilogy on their own.
Sure.
And then after this, the Cosm Breaker story really takes Cadian Gallus, and she becomes something kind of mythic almost at this point. And so the stories that follow after this is really kind of it takes the interdimensional aspect of the story before and just ratchets it up even further.
Okay.
And I'll tease it, but it's basically this fractured futures. So it's almost the way that comic books kind of treat their universe, how they kind of splinter things and bring them around, and other things happen here and they come back around this way. That's like just the way my mind works. And so I have the series kind of branches off in a different direction at this point, but it's still with the main character, even after her big mission on Epriot Prime is complete.
Sure. Excellent. Oh, I'm excited for the 3rd book. This sounds absolutely amazing. Before we get into the book that's coming out, let's do some other questions. Let's play around here a little bit. So you've been making a lot of reference to movies, books, other media, stories getting in there. With Incursion, what would you say is the biggest inspiration? Like if you had to say, if you like this, you'll like this, and give us a couple of those. They don't have to be books, they can be whatever.
Yeah, so I'd say the big genesis for it was I think a video game called Mech Warrior back in the day.
Mech Warrior, okay.
There's been a lot of other iterations of those style, so you could say something like Pacific Rim or something like that if you wanted to talk about a movie. And
Titanfall, wasn't that a game that had big mechs?
Yeah, and there's a couple other ones. Hawken was one that was pretty cool. Anyway, so the video games really were the genesis for some of the tech. The power armor stuff. I drew a lot from Aliens, how that movie made me feel, and quite a few things. But really, it's more like I use the the phrase. It's um, kind of a Full Metal Lara Croft. It,
I like that.
what what the original is, what Arcfire is.
Sure, sure.
Because it does. It's really just kind of like this solo mission, and she's just, against all odds. And, there's this impending invasion coming, and she's running around in the jungle, trying to unlock these ancient secrets. So it's a lot like that. But then you've got this whole other paranormal aspect that begins to play out, and it's stuff that nobody knew, and it just starts just unraveling, and it even just takes pieces of her past and twists it and morphs it into something really malevolent. And so it goes in some really, really different directions than what you would expect.
Sure. All right, you've made more than one video game reference here. I want to hear, what are your favorite video games?
Oh man,
whatever. Those are always crap questions. I'm just going to warn you. I want what you're thinking right now. First thing off the top of your head.
I do. That Mech Warrior game captured my imagination, and I thought that was really awesome. To be honest, I was never that much of a video game guy. I was really more about getting out there and playing and doing stuff. But that one really, just for whatever, that just stuck in my brain. It was kind of a genesis for a lot of different ideas and stuff I wanted to explore. So, well, sure. I'll stick with that.
Okay, good enough. Okay, so let's talk about Bodie Nine. This is your new series, I'm assuming, but this is the newest book, because it says Chronicles of Bodie Nine #1. So I am assuming there will be a #2 plus. We're still in science fiction, right? But now we're doing kind of the cowboy science fiction thing, which I have to tell you is one of my favorite genres. I like all this stuff. Mechs, giant monsters, little monsters. But the like Cowboys versus Aliens, I know it's not a good movie. I could watch it every day for the rest of my life. I just really love that whole concept of the old being intertwined. That's why when we mentioned The Dark Tower, like, that first book lit my brain on fire. I was so excited with that. So tell me about this. Am I right? This is science fiction and cowboys and zombies and all that stuff?
Oddly enough, it is. And I think the fun thing, just to completely shift gears, I have a hard time encapsulating really what Bodie Nine is about, because again, it just takes all these schizophrenic concepts and smashes them together, and that seems to be kind of the hallmark of my writing. But you get this Western sci-fi. It's the flavor of the story is very much Western. It's very much Louis L'Amour, and all these other favorite movies out there. So it's Western, and the idea behind it is there's kind of a weird area of the West, the Alta Estran-Yazy is the name of the area, which is a tweak on the term high strangeness. Which is something that they use for the UFOs out in Utah and those type of areas.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir. I know all about this.
So the idea really is you've got this robot that's bopping around, and he's missing his prime directive, and there's no reason why he ought to be able to even start up without his directive. And so he's wandering around looking for it. And what you end up with is, he stumbles across a family, and he's just kind of a bit of a do-gooder. He's got this real obsession with karma, and you don't know why. And it kind of plays in a little bit later. You begin to understand his genesis and why this is so important to him.
Yeah. Sounds like tinges of The Man with No Name, the Clint Eastwood, for a few dollars more and all that, where he's wandering and trying to find, and even though he's kind of not the greatest guy, you find out morally he's not a bad guy. He's trying. It's interesting. Yeah.
And I think Bodie's a little bit more vanilla. in his robot iteration, but then you do discover that there's a past, and he was very driven, and his circumstances are a result of his choices, and they were a bit misguided. And over the course of the story, I think the thing that people key into is that it's like there's monsters everywhere. How come there's monsters in the West? And again, it all plays into that previous life. But there's all sorts of monsters that I take from Indian mythology.
Oh, cool.
As well as our own mythology. So there's like Wendigos, and then there's even stuff that's explicitly. I think I just took an opportunity to take all of our mythos and create an idea of where it all could have come from. And in this instance, I'll hint at the fact that, maybe somebody was collecting all the baddies from across the cosmos, and they might have crash landed. Let's just put it that way.
So it's kind of like Benicio del Toro's Collector from the Marvel Universe, just collecting all the baddies. And then, oops, I am now Roswell. Bam. That's an interesting idea. We're scared of the aliens. No, you should be scared of what we have on our ship. When does Renegade Bodie 9 come out?
It's only in a couple days. It's 4 days from now, September 19th.
Okay. So this show, I was not going to put it out before that, but I'm going to. So people can order this book. I think you can actually still pre-order all the way until the 19th. And if you pre-order at fourhorsemanpublications.com, which I will put the link in the show notes, you get a discount. And so, yeah, why not order it early, get the discount, and while you're in there, order the other two books, because you got to get caught up before that third book in the Incursion Chronicles comes out.
It'd be wild.
Yeah. So Eric, thank you for being on Alley Chats. I've got one more question for you that I try to ask on this show, and I've missed it a couple times lately, and I've been really upset that I missed it. So you're going to get it. Get ready. It's not that I'm trying to scare you. There's no reason. So this is the ultimate con. Okay. I got no restrictors on this. Who is it you most want to meet? So when I say no restrictors, doesn't have to be an author. It could be living, dead, whatever.
God. It's God.
I don't know if God hangs out at cons, but maybe. I mean, I hear he's a big fan of the Wednesday show, so maybe he's there in cosplay.
Yeah. And I'll go out on a limb here and I'll say, I bet he does. I bet he does. I've heard
he does too.
Interesting stories. For my purposes and my belief system, Jesus is, he's not gone. He's just running around. So, I would
be a perfect place.
Bump into somebody and afterwards go, wait a second, that seemed really familiar.
So God aside, who would you like to meet?
Next best thing. You know what? Kevin J. Anderson, he actually is probably one of the main reasons why I got into writing in the first place. He used to work with my aunt.
Oh, really?
More labs. And so I read one of his first books. It's just, hey, one of my coworkers wrote this. And so I got to read the story and I really enjoyed it. And then lo and behold, he goes on to do, bigger and greater things. So that
to become Kevin J. Anderson, who is not a small name.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, he'd be one that would be really great to meet. So yeah, I love it. And I will, if I remember to, I'll put a link to Kevin's Amazon page in the show notes. So anybody that doesn't know who Kevin J. Anderson is, click on it, explore, but not until you buy Eric's books. You hear this, right? Eric, thank you so much for being on. Everybody, his stuff's in the show notes. You can follow him. I'll put the links into his Instagram and everything there. Eric, good luck with this book. Everybody buy it. Tell your friends about it. And we'll have you back on. We'll have you on Inkblots to talk about your third book in that series and maybe about Bodie 9. I'm not sure. So thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate having me on, Rob. You have a great day.
You too. You can connect with me on social media or via email. All the links are found in the show notes. Oh, and it would really help me if you would rate and review this show on whatever platform you use to listen to this podcast. Good reviews help others find the show, which ultimately helps these incredible guests get more exposure. Alley Chats is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, produced, and edited by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks again for listening to Alley Chats. And don't forget to support indie artists.